The first thing you notice about the dojo is the money. Hardwood floors that cost more than most people's cars. Mirrored walls imported from Germany. Heavy bags hanging from reinforced steel beams. The air smells like leather, sweat, and wealth. This isn't some strip mall karate school with ripped vinyl mats and a vending machine that sells stale protein bars. This is the Legacy Martial Arts Academy in Buckhead, Atlanta. $400 a month per student. Waiting list 3 years long. The parents drop their kids off in Mercedes G-Wagons and Range Rovers. The adult students are surgeons, tech founders, professional athletes. Everyone in this room has something to lose. Everyone except the man mopping the floor. His name is Jerome Fiser. He is 43 years old. He stands 6 feet 1, 210 pounds. And right now he is invisible. Not invisible in the metaphorical sense. Invisible in the way furniture is invisible. Invisible in the way that air conditioning is invisible. He has worked the night shift at this dojo for 11 months. He arrives at 9 p.m. after the last student leaves. He mops the mats. He cleans the locker rooms. He empties the trash cans. He scrubs the blood off the heavy bags because, yes, even in fancy dojos, people bleed. By morning, the place is spotless. The students walk in at 6 a.m. and never once wonder who made the floors shine. They never once say thank you. They never once learn his name. But they are about to. It is a Tuesday evening in late October. 73 degrees outside and the leaves are turning gold. Jerome is finishing his shift early because one of the day janitors had called in sick. Management asked him to cover. Same pay, double the humiliation. He's mopping the main training floor when the 6 p.m. class lets out early. The students filter toward the locker rooms, laughing, taping their knuckles, checking their phones. Normal sounds, normal night. Then a voice cuts through the room like a blade. Whoa, 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 look what the bleach dragged in. Derek Van Camp, 26 years old, 6 feet 3, 230 pounds, black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, brown belt in Judo, golden retriever energy hiding a Rottweiler's teeth. His father owns a regional medical supply chain worth $87 million. His mother sits on 3 philanthropic boards. Derek has never missed a meal, never worried about rent, never once wondered what it feels like to have someone look at you and see nothing. He is walking toward Jerome with his training partner, a hedge fund analyst named Brad who follows Derek around like a golden retriever following the alpha dog. Brad is already laughing even though nothing funny has happened yet. That's how you know Derek has power. People laugh before the joke. Jerome keeps mopping. Steady strokes, back and forth, the way his father taught him. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Derek stops 5 feet away, hands on his hips, G still damp with sweat. He looks at Jerome the way you look at a stain you're deciding whether to scrub. I'm serious, Derek says, louder now. Does this guy even have a name? Brad snorts. Probably something like Mophead. 3 other students stop walking. They stand near the door, watching. Nobody sits down, nobody leaves. They want to see what happens next. That's human nature. The car crash you can't look away from. Jerome dips the mop in the bucket, wrings it out. The rubber squeegee makes a wet sucking sound that fills the silence. Derek steps closer. Hey, I'm talking to you. Jerome looks up, not fast, not slow, just exactly at the speed of a man who has been disrespected so many times that he has learned exactly how much eye contact costs. He looks at Derek for 2 seconds, then back at the floor. Name's Jerome, he says. Quiet, calm, the kind of calm that sounds like surrender if you don't know any better. Derek grins. Jerome, okay, Jerome what? Just Jerome. Just Jerome the janitor. Derek turns to Brad. Did you hear that? Just Jerome the janitor. Like he's a character in a movie where the floor never gets clean. Brad laughs harder now. 2 other students laugh too. Nervous laughter. The kind where you're not sure if you're laughing at the joke or laughing to prove you're not the target. Jerome pushes the mop bucket toward the corner. 3 feet, 4 feet. He is trying to leave. That's what years of humility teach you. How to shrink, how to disappear, how to make yourself small enough that the people with power forget you exist. But Derek doesn't want him to disappear. Hold on, Derek says. He steps in front of the bucket, blocks the path. You've been here almost a year, right? Mopping our mats, wiping our sweat, smelling our farts. Jerome stops. Mop handle in his right hand, dirty water sloshing in the bucket. He stares at Derek's chest because looking a bully in the eyes is an invitation he cannot afford. I've never seen you train, Derek continues. Not once. You ever throw a punch, Jerome? Silence. I asked you a question. Jerome swallows. Not here. Not here, Derek repeats, mocking the tone. Where then? In the streets? You one of those guys who thinks he's tough because he grew up in the hood? Jerome says nothing. Derek takes another step. Now they are 3 feet apart. Derek's sweat smells like expensive cologne and competition. Jerome's sweat smells like bleach and shame. I'll make you a deal, Derek says. 1 round, light sparring, just for fun. You land 1 hit on me, I'll clean these floors myself for a month. The students at the door exchange glances. Brad's smile falters for just a second. Even he knows this is wrong. Derek is twice Jerome's size. 30 years younger. Trained since childhood. This isn't sparring. This is a cat playing with something it plans to kill. Jerome looks at the bucket. At the mop. At the door 20 yards away. He could walk. He should walk. The smart thing is to walk. But walking has a cost too. Walking tells Derek he was right. Walking tells every student watching that the man with the mop is exactly what they thought he was. I'm just here to clean, Jerome says. That's right, Derek says. You are. So clean. But first, entertain us. He reaches out and taps Jerome's chest. 1 finger, right over the heart. A gesture so casually disrespectful that it lands like a slap. Derek grins. Come on, 1 punch. I'll even let you go first. The room is completely silent now. 7 witnesses. 7 people who will go home tonight and tell their families about the crazy thing that happened at the dojo. 7 people who will not intervene. Then the back door opens. Not the front entrance. The back door. The one that leads to the private office. The one that only 2 people have keys to. The one that belongs to Master Kenji Griffin. He is 61 years old, 5 feet 8, 160 pounds, soaking wet. He looks like someone's grandfather. Soft hands, soft eyes, soft voice. But the martial arts world knows his name the way the Catholic world knows the Pope. 9th degree black belt. Former national coach for the Korean judo team. Personal student of the man who taught the man who taught the man. He does not teach at Legacy because he needs money. He teaches at Legacy because he is bored in retirement and the owner is his nephew. Master Griffin walks into the room wearing gray sweatpants and a faded t-shirt that says Osaka 1998. His feet are bare. His white hair is messy like he just woke up from a nap. He is holding a cup of tea. He stops when he sees the scene. The janitor with the mop. The student blocking his path. The 7 frozen witnesses. Derek sees him and immediately straightens his posture, drops his hands to his sides. The bully mask slides off, and the good student mask clicks into place. Master Griffin, Derek says. We were just... Master Griffin holds up 1 finger. Not at Derek. At Jerome. He sets his tea on a nearby shelf, then he walks across the mat. 7 steps. 8. 9. Each footstep quiet but final. He stops in front of Jerome, looks at the mop handle, at the bucket, at the work boots, at the faded navy polo shirt with Legacy Janitorial embroidered on the chest. Then Master Griffin does something that stops the room cold. He bows. Not a casual nod, not a wave. A full standing bow, 45 degrees, hands at his sides held for 3 full seconds. The kind of bow you give to someone you respect, the kind of bow you give to someone higher rank than you. Derek's mouth opens, closes, opens again. No sound comes out. Brad looks at Derek, looks at Master Griffin, looks at Jerome. His brain is making a sound like a hard drive crashing. Jerome stands perfectly still. The mop handle creaks under his grip. Master Griffin straightens. He looks at Jerome's face for a long time. Then he speaks. His voice is soft, accented, kind, but underneath the kindness is something harder than steel. It has been 23 years, Jerome. The words land like stones in still water, ripples spreading outward. 23 years. That number hangs in the air, old enough to be history, recent enough to be a wound. Jerome's jaw tightens. Master Griffin. I did not think you would come back to a dojo. Master Griffin tilts his head. I did not think you would touch a mat again. I don't, Jerome says. I just clean. You just clean, Master Griffin nods slowly. And yet here you are, every night, alone on the mats. Derek is still frozen. His brain is screaming at him to run, but his feet won't move. Because he is beginning to understand something terrible. Something that does not fit into the story he told himself 30 seconds ago. Master Griffin turns to face the room. All 7 witnesses, Derek, Brad. The students frozen by the door. Does anyone know who this man is? Master Griffin asks. Silence. No, Master Griffin says. Of course not. Why would you? He mops your floors. He cleans your toilets. He is invisible to you. He pauses. But he is not invisible to me. Master Griffin walks to the wall of photographs. Decades of champions. Decades of history. He runs his finger along the frames until he stops at one near the bottom corner. The photo is old. Faded. The colors have shifted toward orange. but the image is still clear. A younger Master Griffin, maybe 40 years old, standing next to a man in a military uniform, a man who looks nothing like the janitor in front of them. This man is hard, muscles like knotted rope, and eyes that have seen things that cannot be unseen, a scar running from his left eyebrow to his hairline. Master Griffin lifts the photograph off the wall, walks back to the center of the room, holds it up so everyone can see. His name is Jerome Fiser, Master Griffin says. United States Army, Special Forces, 12 years, 4 tours, 2 Bronze Stars, 1 Purple Heart. Derek's face goes gray. Brad takes a step backward. The students at the door forget to breathe. But that is not why I bow to him, Master Griffin continues. Many soldiers have medals. Many men have scars. That is not the reason. He sets the photograph down on the mat, faces Jerome directly. In 2001, I was teaching a seminar at a military base in South Korea, a demonstration of hand-to-hand combat techniques. One of the soldiers in attendance was a young captain, arrogant, talented, cruel. He believed that rank made him superior. He believed that strength made him untouchable. Master Griffin's voice drops lower. After the seminar, he challenged me to spar in front of his men. I declined. He insisted. I declined again. So he insulted my teacher, my family, my country. He did this because he knew I could not refuse without losing face. Master Griffin looks at Jerome. Something softens in his eyes. I accepted the challenge, and I lost. The room is so quiet you can hear the water dripping from the mop. I lost because I was old. I lost because I was tired. I lost because the captain was 30 years younger and 40 pounds heavier. But mostly I lost because I was angry. And anger is a terrible foundation for technique. Master Griffin touches his left knee. He tore my ACL, cracked 2 ribs, and when I was on the ground, unable to defend myself, he stood over me and laughed, in front of 60 soldiers. Derek is shaking his head, slow, unconscious, like he is trying to shake the story out of his ears. The captain told his men to watch closely. He said this is what happens to old men who pretend they can still fight. He raised his foot to stomp my face, and then... Master Griffin stops, swallows. Even now, 23 years later, the memory costs him something. Then a soldier stepped between us, a young sergeant who had been watching from the back of the room. He did not say a word. He simply stood over me, blocked the captain's foot with his forearm, and when the captain swung at him, the sergeant caught the punch and redirected it into emptiness. Master Griffin looks at Jerome, directly, unforgivingly. He did not strike the captain. He did not humiliate him. He simply neutralized every attack again and again until the captain was exhausted, until the captain was begging for mercy, and then the sergeant helped the captain to his feet, brushed off his uniform, and said, "Sir, you dropped something." Master Griffin's voice cracks. The captain had not dropped anything, but the sergeant gave him a way to retreat with dignity. He saved the captain's pride. He saved my face. He saved 60 soldiers from watching their commander commit an atrocity. Master Griffin bows again, deeper this time, a bow of gratitude, a bow of debt. That sergeant was Jerome Fiser. Now the room is not silent. The room is screaming with quiet, the kind of quiet that happens when 20 years of assumptions collapse in 3 seconds. Derek looks at Jerome, really looks at him, sees the width of his shoulders under that cheap polo shirt, sees the calluses on his knuckles hidden behind the mop handle, sees the way he stands with his weight distributed evenly, front foot, back foot, ready, always ready. "No," Derek whispers. "No, that's not... He's a janitor. He's just a..." "He is a janitor," Master Griffin says, "because he chooses to be. Because after 12 years of war, he decided that cleaning floors was more honorable than breaking bones. Because he has a mother with dementia who needs him close. Because he's tired in ways you cannot understand." Master Griffin steps closer to Derek, not aggressive, just present. "You asked him to fight you, as a joke. You thought it would be funny to humiliate a man you believed was beneath you." Master Griffin's eyes are cold now. "Do you know what would have happened if he had accepted?" Derek shakes his head. "He would have killed you." The words land like gunfire. Not on purpose, not with malice, but Jerome spent 12 years training his body to respond to threats faster than his conscience can intervene. If you had thrown a punch, his hands would have moved before his brain could stop them. And you would be on this floor right now with a collapsed trachea or a shattered orbital bone or neck that no longer turns the left. Master Griffin looks at the other students, at Brad, at the 7 witnesses. That is why he cleans floors at night, alone, because he's afraid of himself. Jerome closes his eyes, just for a second, just long enough for the room to see the weight he carries. When he opens them again, he looks at Derek, not with anger, not with triumph, with something worse. Pity. "I'm not here to hurt anybody," Jerome says, quiet, steady. "I'm here to mop, that's all." He picks up the mop bucket, pushes it toward the supply closet. The wheels squeak on the hardwood. Normal sound, normal night, but nothing will ever be normal again. Derek's face cycles through emotions like a slot machine. Shock, fear, shame, denial, and then something uglier than all of them. Rage. Because Derek Van Camp has never been wrong about anything. That's not arrogance. That's his identity. He is the smart one, the strong one, the one who wins. And right now, in front of 7 witnesses, he has been revealed as the fool. He cannot accept that. "Wait," Derek says. His voice cracks. He clears his throat. Tries again. "Wait, this is ridiculous. You expect me to believe that this janitor is some kind of secret assassin?" Master Griffin does not answer. He does not need to. "He mops floors," Derek says, louder now. "He makes $11 an hour. He drives a 2004 Honda Civic with a broken taillight. I've seen it in the parking lot. I've seen him eat lunch out of a plastic bag in his car because he can't afford the smoothie bar across the street." Jerome keeps walking. Derek follows him. "You're lying. You're protecting him for some reason. Maybe he saved your life. Fine. That doesn't make him a fighter. That makes him lucky." Master Griffin watches, says nothing. Derek grabs Jerome's shoulder. Mistake. Jerome stops, does not turn around, but something changes in his posture. The shoulders drop half an inch. The weight shifts to the balls of his feet. The mop handle rotates 3 degrees. In the corner of the room, Brad sees it. He doesn't know what he sees, but his lizard brain knows. His lizard brain screams at him to run. Derek doesn't notice. "I'm talking to you." Jerome turns his head, just enough to meet Derek's eyes. "Take your hand off my shoulder." "Or what?" The word hangs in the air, heavy, final. Jerome looks at Master Griffin. Something passes between them, a question, an answer, permission denied. Jerome relaxes his shoulders. Derek's hand stays where it is. "You're a fraud," Derek says. "You're nobody. You've always been nobody, and nobody at this dojo is ever going to respect you just because some old man told a war story." Derek squeezes Jerome's shoulder, hard enough to bruise. "I challenge you, right now, 1 round, no excuses. Let's see what this big bad soldier can do." Jerome looks at the floor, at the bucket, at the exit. "I decline." "Of course you do." Derek laughs, but the laugh is hollow now, desperate. "Because you can't fight, because you never could, because you're just a janitor with a good story." Jerome nods. "Okay." He pushes the bucket into the supply closet, hangs the mop on its hook, takes his time. When he comes back out, his hands are empty. His face is empty too. The face of a man who has learned that showing emotion is a luxury he cannot afford. He walks toward the back door, toward his car, toward the end of another night. And Derek does something unforgivable. He pulls out his phone. "Hey Siri," Derek says. "Record video?" The camera clicks on. Derek points it at Jerome's back. "This is the guy who cleans our mats," Derek says to the camera. Loud, performative. "My sensei just told me he's some kind of special forces killer, but watch this. Watch him walk away like the coward he is." Jerome stops at the door, hand on the frame. He does not turn around. "1 punch," Derek says. "That's all I'm asking. 1 punch and I'll leave you alone forever. I'll even post a video apology. Come on, give the people what they want." The phone captures everything. The fluorescent lights, the mats, Master Griffin standing motionless by the photo wall, Brad with his hands over his mouth, the 7 witnesses who have not moved in 3 minutes. Jerome turns around, not fast, not dramatic, just the slow rotation of a man who has run out of options. "Turn off the phone, sir." Derek grins. "No. Turn it off, or I walk out that door and I never come back, and you never get to find out if the story's true." Derek hesitates. Because that's the hook. That's what Derek wants more than anything. Not victory, not respect, certainty. He needs to know if he is stronger than the ghost in front of him. He lowers the phone, does not turn it off, just points it at the floor. "Fine, no recording. Now fight me." Jerome shakes his head. "I don't fight. I haven't fought in 11 years, not since I came home." "Then why are you still here?" Jerome is quiet for a long time. Long enough that Derek opens his mouth to speak again, long enough that Master Griffin takes a step forward. Then Jerome speaks, and his voice is different, older, heavier. "Because my mother taught me that running is not the same as retreating. Running is fear, retreating is strategy, and I have been retreating for 11 years because I am afraid that if I stop retreating, I will become the person the army made me. He looks at his hands. The hands that mop floors. The hands that once broke a man's jaw in 3 places with one punch. I don't want to be that person anymore, Derek scoffs. That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. But it's also a lie. You're not afraid of becoming violent. You're afraid of losing. You're afraid that if you step on that mat, everyone will see what I already know. You're nothing. Jerome's jaw tightens. His hands curl into fists. Open, curl, open. Master Griffin watches. His expression is unreadable. 1 round, Derek says again. I'll even wear boxing gloves. You can use MMA gloves. I'll take the disadvantage. I just want to see what you have. Jerome looks at Master Griffin. A long look. A look that says, help me. Master Griffin shakes his head. Just barely. Just enough for Jerome to see. This is your choice. Jerome closes his eyes, takes a breath, holds it, releases it. Okay. The word lands like a gunshot. Derek's face lights up. Triumph. Excitement. The hunt is finally on. Okay, Derek says. Okay? You'll fight me? I'll spar with you. 1 round, 2 minutes. Jerome holds up 1 finger. But I have conditions. Name them. No phones, no witnesses, just you, me, and Master Griffin. Derek's smile falters. Why no witnesses? Because if there are witnesses, I have to perform. And if I have to perform, someone gets hurt. Derek looks at Brad, at the students, at the phone in his hand. He wants an audience. He wants to be seen, but he wants victory more. Fine, everyone out. Brad opens his mouth to protest. Derek cuts him off. Out, now! The witnesses file out, reluctant, curious, terrified. The door closes behind them. The room is empty except for 3 men. The bully, the master, and the janitor. Master Griffin walks to the corner of the mat, sits cross-legged, watchful. Derek pulls off his shirt. Muscles ripple under skin. He has spent thousands of hours building that body, hundreds of thousands of dollars on trainers and supplements and competitions. He looks like what he is, a weapon. Jerome takes off his work boots, sets them neatly by the wall, removes his socks, feels the mat under his feet for the first time in 11 years. The sensation hits him like electricity. He remembers the first time he stepped on a mat. He was 7 years old. His father signed him up for judo at the local community center because Jerome kept getting suspended for fighting. His father said, if you're going to fight, learn how to do it right. His father died 3 years later. Liver cancer, 6 months from diagnosis to funeral. Jerome never stopped training. He poured his grief into the mats, into the throws, into the submissions. By the time he was 16, he was beating adults. By the time he was 18, he was beating black belts. The Army found him at a tournament in Texas. A recruiter with a shaved head and a silver star on his chest watched Jerome throw 3 opponents in under 2 minutes. After the medal ceremony, the recruiter walked up and said, "Have you ever thought about serving your country?" Jerome thought about his father, about the flag on the coffin, about the way his mother cried when they played taps. "Yes," he said, "I have." Now he stands on another mat, in another place, another lifetime. Derek bounces on his toes, rolls his shoulders, cracks his neck. He is performing for an audience of 1. But he is also genuinely preparing. Whatever he believes about Jerome, he is not stupid enough to underestimate a Special Forces veteran. "Rules?" Derek asks. "Light contact," Master Griffin says from the corner. "First person to score 2 points wins. A takedown is 1 point, a pin is 2. Submission ends the match immediately." Derek nods. "And if I knock him out?" "You won't." The confidence in Master Griffin's voice is not arrogance. It is knowledge. The same way a meteorologist knows it will rain, not because he controls the weather, because he has seen the patterns. Jerome raises his hands, not in a fighting stance, just hands up, open palms, facing Derek like a crossing guard stopping traffic. Derek circles left, Jerome stays still. Derek circles right, Jerome stays still. "You gonna move or just stand there?" Derek asks. Jerome doesn't answer. Derek shoots in for a takedown. Fast. Explosive. The kind of blast double leg that has won him tournaments. He drives his shoulder into Jerome's hips, wraps his arms around the thighs, drives forward. Jerome doesn't resist. He flows. Like water, like smoke, like something that was never really there. Derek's momentum carries him past Jerome's center of gravity. He stumbles, catches himself, turns around. Jerome is standing exactly where he started, hands still up, face still empty. Derek blinks. "What the—" He shoots again, this time faster, angrier. He grabs Jerome's left leg, lifts it off the mat, drives forward. Jerome's right foot pivots, his hips drop, his body rotates. Derek feels the world shift underneath him. His own momentum turns against him. He crashes to the mat face first, hard. The air leaves his lungs in a wet gasp. Jerome steps back, waits. Derek pushes himself up, spits on the mat. His nose is bleeding. He didn't even feel it happen. Point, Master Griffin says. Jerome. That was luck, Derek says. I slipped. Jerome says nothing. Derek comes forward again, slower now, more careful. He throws a jab, a cross, a hook, 3 strikes, fast combinations. The kind that have dropped opponents in the competition. Jerome slips each one. Not blocks, not parries. Slipping, moving his head inches to the left, inches to the right. The punches pass through empty air where his face used to be. Derek throws a knee. Jerome's hand touches Derek's hip, just touches, but the knee loses its power. Stalls in midair. Derek stumbles. Jerome steps back. "Stop moving!" Derek screams. Jerome stops moving. Derek throws a wild overhand right, all his weight behind it. 230 pounds of muscle and rage accelerating toward Jerome's jaw. Jerome catches the punch. Not blocks it. Catches it. His palm meets Derek's fist. Fingers wrap around the knuckles. And stops the punch completely. Dead stop. Like catching a baseball thrown by a child. Derek's eyes go wide. Jerome holds the fist for 1 second. 2 seconds. Then lets go. "That's 2, Master Griffin says quietly. "Match is over." "No," Derek says. His voice is breaking. "No, that's not... I didn't tap. I didn't lose." "You lost the moment you challenged him," Master Griffin says. "You just didn't know it." Derek looks at his fist, at the red mark where Jerome's palm pressed against his knuckles. He looks at Jerome's face, still empty, still calm, still the face of a man who has seen death and decided to become a janitor instead. "Who are you?" Derek whispers. Jerome picks up his socks, puts them on, picks up his boots, laces them slowly. The movements are deliberate, meditative. The movements of a man rebuilding his walls. "I told you," Jerome says. "I'm nobody." He walks to the back door, pushes it open. The night air rushes in, cool, clean, full of possibility. Master Griffin stands up, brushes off his sweatpants, looks at Derek with something that might be pity. "You asked him to fight as a joke," Master Griffin says. "But the joke was on you. Not because he's stronger, not because he's faster, because he has something you will never have." "What's that?" "The ability to choose peace when violence is available." Master Griffin follows Jerome out the door. The night swallows them both. Derek stands alone on the mat, his nose still bleeding, his ego bleeding worse, his phone still recording on the floor by the wall. He picks it up, looks at the screen. The video is still running. 8 minutes, 14 seconds. He holds his thumb over the delete button. He doesn't press it. Because somewhere in the back of his mind a darker thought is forming. A thought about lawyers, about lawsuits, about assault charges and restraining orders and news cameras. If he can't win on the mat, he can win in court. Derek Van Camp has never lost anything in his life. He is not about to start now. Derek stood alone on the mat for a long time after the door closed. His nose had stopped bleeding. The blood had dried into a brown crust on his upper lip. His knuckles ached where Jerome's palm had stopped his punch cold. But the physical pain was nothing compared to what was happening inside his chest. He had never lost. Not in competition. Not in the dojo. Not in life. He had been the fastest, the strongest, the smartest, the richest, the most connected in every room he had ever entered. His father had taught him that winning was not a goal. Winning was an identity. You either won or you were nobody. There was no third option. And tonight, in front of his training partner, in front of 7 witnesses, in front of Master Griffin, Derek Van Camp had been exposed as nobody. He walked to the locker room on autopilot. His feet carried him past the water fountain, past the trophy case, past the wall of photographs where Master Griffin had pulled down the faded picture of young Jerome in his military uniform. Derek stopped in front of that empty space on the wall. The hook where the frame had so hung was still there. Small, silver, insignificant. But the absence was enormous. Brad was waiting in the locker room, sitting on the bench, hands between his knees. He looked up when Derek walked in and immediately looked back down. The way you look away from a car accident. You want to see. But you don't want to be seen seeing. "You okay?" Brad asked. Derek didn't answer. He walked to the sink, turned on the water, watched the pink swirl disappear down the drain. "That was crazy," Brad said. "I didn't know he could... I never would have guessed that he was..." "Shut up!" Brad shut up. Derek splashed water on his face. The cold shock brought him back to his body. He looked at himself in the mirror. Same face, same jaw, same eyes, but something behind the eyes had changed. A crack in the foundation. a hairline fracture that would either heal into scar tissue or spread until the whole structure collapsed. He dried his face with a paper towel, crumbled it into a ball, missed the trash can by 2 feet, did not pick it up. "What are you going to do?" Brad asked. Derek turned, looked at Brad the way a predator looks at prey that has wandered too close to the den. "What do you mean?" "I mean, are you going to tell your dad? Are you going to complain to management? That guy assaulted you. He threw you to the ground." Derek's eyes narrowed. "He didn't throw me. Yes, he did. I saw it. Through the window, he threw you face first into the mat." Derek walked toward Brad. Slow, deliberate, each footstep echoing off the tile walls. "He didn't throw me. He redirected my momentum. There's a difference." Brad stood up, backed away. His shoulders hit the lockers. Nowhere left to go. "If anyone asks," Derek said, his voice low and dangerous, "we were sparring. Light contact. I slipped on a wet spot on the mat. That's what happened. You understand?" Brad nodded. "Too fast. Too eager. Say it. You slipped on a wet spot." "Good." Derek patted Brad's cheek, twice, lightly, the way you pat a dog that has finally learned to sit. "Good boy." Derek grabbed his gym bag, walked out of the locker room, through the empty dojo, past the mats that still held the memory of his humiliation, past the supply closet where Jerome had hung his mop, past the back door that had swallowed the 2 men who had made him feel small. The parking lot was nearly empty. A few cars scattered under the sodium lights. His BMW X7 was parked in the reserved spot near the front. $70,000 of German engineering. He pressed the key fob. The lights flashed. The engine purred to life. He sat in the driver's seat for 10 minutes without moving. His phone buzzed. A text from his father. "Dinner Thursday, 7 p.m. Don't be late." Derek stared at the words. His father never asked. His father told. His father had been telling Derek what to do for 26 years, what to wear, what to study, what sport to play, what woman to date, what career to pursue. Every decision filtered through the sieve of his father's approval. Derek had built his entire identity on being the son that Charles Van Camp could brag about at country club dinners. The black belt, the tournament champion, the NBA candidate at Emory, the heir to the Van Camp medical supply throne. And tonight that identity had cracked, because Charles Van Camp did not raise losers. Charles Van Camp did not raise men who got thrown to the mat by janitors. Charles Van Camp did not raise sons who slipped on wet spots. Derek typed back, "I'll be there." Then he opened his photo album, found the video, the one he had started recording when he thought he was about to humiliate a helpless janitor for the entertainment of his friends. The video that had captured 8 minutes and 14 seconds of his own destruction. He watched it 3 times. The first time, he watched for evidence, for proof that Jerome had cheated, that Jerome had hit him illegally, that Jerome had done something that could be used against him. There was nothing. The second time, he watched for his own mistakes, for the technical errors that had led to his defeat, the overcommitment, the lack of control, the arrogance that had made him believe he could win with brute force alone. There were many. The third time he watched for something else, something darker. He watched the expression on Jerome's face during the exchange, the emptiness, the stillness, the absolute lack of effort. Jerome had not been trying. That was the worst part, the most humiliating part, the part that Derek could not accept. Jerome had not broken a sweat, had not raised his voice, had not even seemed to consider Derek a threat worth acknowledging. Derek had been dismissed, not defeated, dismissed, like a child throwing a tantrum, like a fly buzzing at a window. His phone buzzed again. This time it was Brad. "You should see this." A link. Derek clicked it. Facebook. A video posted 37 minutes ago. Already 2,000 views. The caption read, "Crazy sparring session at Legacy tonight. Our janitor is a secret special forces killer." The video showed the back of Derek's head, his shoulders, his voice saying, "One punch, that's all I'm asking." Then the camera lowering, then the sound of the match. The thud of Derek hitting the mat. The wet gasp of his breath leaving his lungs. No faces, no identifying features, but everyone who had been in that dojo tonight would know exactly who was who. Derek's hands started shaking. He called Brad. "Who posted this?" "I don't know. Someone sent it to me. It's spreading fast." "Take it down." "I can't. I didn't post it." "Find out who did and tell them to take it down, or I will—" "Derek, it's already been shared like 40 times. Even if the original comes down, it's out there." Derek hung up, threw his phone onto the passenger seat, stared at the steering wheel. The BMW emblem stared back, blue and white, Bavarian, expensive, impressive, none of that mattered right now. Because Derek Van Camp was about to become a meme, a laughingstock, the rich kid who got humiliated by a janitor. He started the engine, pulled out of the parking lot, Drove home without remembering a single turn. Jerome lived 20 minutes from the dojo in a 2-bedroom apartment complex called Cedar Grove. The complex was built in 1987 and had not been updated since 1994. The carpets in the hallways were the color of cigarette smoke. The elevator broke twice a month. The laundry room had a sign that said "out of order" written in 3 different handwriting styles because the management kept losing the original. His apartment was on the 3rd floor, number 312. He unlocked the door, stepped inside, and closed it behind him. 3 deadbolts, a chain lock, a wooden dowel, and the sliding glass door track. The habits of a man who had spent 12 years sleeping in places where people wanted to kill him. The apartment was clean, not dojo clean, not the sterile cleanliness of a man who scrubs floors for a living, but clean enough. Dishes in the cabinet, bed made, laundry folded, a small altar in the corner with a photograph of his father in his army uniform, a candle that had burned down to a nub, a medal in a shadow box. Jerome walked to the 2nd bedroom. The door was closed. He opened it slowly, quietly. The room was dark except for a nightlight shaped like a teddy bear. The curtains were drawn. The air smelled like lavender lotion and adult diapers. In the bed, a small woman lay curled on her side. Her name was Marie Fiser. She was 71 years old. She had been a kindergarten teacher for 34 years. She had raised Jerome alone after his father died. She had worked 2 jobs to pay for his judo lessons. She had driven him to tournaments in a rusted Ford Taurus that smelled like coffee and hope. Now she had dementia. Early onset, diagnosed at 59. The doctor said it was aggressive. The doctor said she had 5 to 7 years. That was 12 years ago. Marie Fiser had always been stubborn. Jerome sat on the edge of her bed, touched her hair, soft, gray, thin. She stirred but did not wake. "Hey, Mama," he whispered. She made a sound. Not a word. A sound. The sound of a person who is no longer sure where she is or who she's talking to. Jerome leaned down, kissed her forehead. "I'm home." He stayed there for 20 minutes, watching her breathe, listening to the rhythm, in and out, each breath a small victory, each breath a reminder of why he cleaned floors instead of teaching seminars, why he disappeared instead of performing, why he had chosen to be nobody. His mother needed him, not the soldier, not the fighter, not the man who could kill with his bare hands. She needed the son who made her soup, who changed her sheets, who held her hand when she woke up confused and afraid. That son could not afford to get into fights. That son could not afford to have a reputation. That son could not afford to be anything other than quiet and invisible and safe. Jerome stood up, walked to the living room, sat on the second-hand couch, turned on the television with the volume off, watched the colors move across the screen. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He didn't check it. It buzzed again and again and again. Jerome pulled it out. 11 messages, all from numbers he didn't recognize. He opened the first one. "Bro, is that really you?" The second. "I saw the video. You're a legend." The third. "My dad trained with you at Fort Bragg. He says to tell you Sergeant Morrison says hello." The fourth. "Why are you cleaning floors? You could be making 6 figures teaching." Jerome scrolled faster. The messages blurred together. Some were supportive, some were curious, some were angry. One accused him of lying. One asked for fighting lessons. One offered him money to train their teenager. He opened Facebook. The video was everywhere. Shared on martial arts pages, posted in military veteran groups, reposted by news sites that aggregated viral content. The comments section was a war zone. "This is fake. No way a janitor moves like that." "That's not fake. That's Special Forces jiu-jitsu." You can tell by the way he redirects the momentum. The big guy is Derek Van Camp. His dad owns Van Camp Medical. Rich kid got humbled, LOL. LOL. Leave Derek alone. He's a good guy. The janitor shouldn't have thrown him. The janitor didn't throw him. Learn to read. I know Jerome. He's legit. He won the All-Army Combatives tournament 3 years in a row. 3 years in a row? Why is he mopping floors? Some people don't want fame. That's what poor people say. The comments went on for thousands. Jerome stopped reading when his hands started shaking. Not from fear. From something worse. Recognition. He had spent 11 years building a life without attention, without expectation, without the weight of other people's eyes on his back. He had chosen cleaning because cleaning was honest. Cleaning was simple. Cleaning required nothing from him except physical effort and punctuality. But the video was changing that. The video was pulling him out of the shadows and into a light he had never wanted. His phone rang. The screen showed a number he didn't recognize. He let it go to voicemail. It rang again. Same number. He let it go again. It rang a third time. Jerome answered. Hello? Jerome Fiser. The voice was female, professional, fast. Who's asking? My name is Monica Delgado. I am a producer with Good Morning Atlanta. We'd like to have you on the show tomorrow to discuss your background in the viral video. Jerome closed his eyes. No, thank you. Mr. Fiser, this could be a great opportunity for you. We've already been contacted by several sponsors who want to... No. He hung up, turned off his phone, sat in the dark for a long time. The next morning, Derek woke up to a text from his father. My office. 8 a.m. Don't be late. It was 6:47. Derek had not slept. He had spent the night watching the video spread, watching the comments multiply, watching his reputation dissolve in real time. He showered, dressed in a navy suit, drove to his father's office in Buckhead. The building was glass and steel, 12 floors. Van Camp Medical Supply occupied the top 3. The lobby smelled like bergamot and money. The elevator opened onto the executive suite. His father's assistant, a woman named Karen, who had worked for Charles Van Camp for 19 years, looked up from her desk with an expression that Derek could not read. He's waiting for you. Derek nodded, walked to the corner office. The door was open. Charles Van Camp stood by the window with his back to the room. He was 61 years old, 6'2", 220 pounds, silver hair, gold watch, the posture of a man who had never apologized for anything in his life. Close the door. Derek closed the door. Charles did not turn around. I saw the video. Derek said nothing. My secretary showed it to me this morning. She thought I would find it amusing. Charles turned. His eyes were the same color as Derek's. Blue. Cold. Empty. I did not find it amusing. Dad, I can explain. Explain what? That you challenged a janitor to a fight and lost. That you were recorded acting like a spoiled child. That the Van Camp name is now being dragged through the mud by every keyboard warrior with an internet connection. Derek's throat tightened. He's not just a janitor, he's... I don't care what he is. Charles walked toward his desk, sat down, folded his hands. I care about what people think he is. Right now they think he's a hero and you're a villain. That's a problem. It was just sparring. No one got hurt. No one got hurt? Charles pulled a tablet from his desk drawer, tapped the screen, turned it to face Derek. Then what is this? The screen showed an article from a local news website. The headline read, Wealthy heir assaults janitor at Buckhead Dojo. Police investigating. Derek's blood turned to ice. That's not true. I didn't assault anyone. He threw me. The article says you grabbed him first, that you threatened him, that you challenged him to a fight after he repeatedly declined. That's not... Who told them that? Does it matter? Charles stood up, walked around the desk, leaned against the front. What matters is damage control. What matters is making sure this story dies before it reaches the evening news. What matters is protecting this family's name. Derek's hands were shaking again. What do you want me to do? Nothing. You've done enough. Charles picked up his phone, scrolled. I've already spoken to our attorney. He recommends a preemptive legal strategy. Preemptive legal strategy? What does that mean? It means we file a complaint before he does. Assault, battery, emotional distress, we go on the offensive. We make him the aggressor. We make you the victim. Derek stared at his father. But he didn't assault me. I grabbed him. I challenged him. I don't care what you did. Charles's voice was quiet, deadly. I care about what we can prove. And what we can prove is that a trained Special Forces veteran threw you to the ground without provocation. We have witnesses, we have a video, we have a jury that will look at a janitor and see a threat. Derek opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Dad, this is wrong. This is business. Charles stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the Atlanta skyline. You wanted to be a fighter. Now fight, but not with your fists, with lawyers, with leverage, with the system that your mother and I have spent 40 years building. Derek sat down in the leather chair across from his father's desk. The chair was expensive, hand-stitched, Italian leather. It smelled like wealth. It felt like a cage. What happens to him? Derek asked. The janitor. What happens if we do this? Charles shrugged. He loses his job, probably his apartment, maybe his mother's care facility if he can't afford it anymore. He gets buried in legal fees until he has no choice but to settle for pennies on the dollar. Derek thought about Jerome's face, the emptiness, the stillness, the way he had said, I don't want to be that person anymore. I don't want to do this. Charles turned, looked at his son for a long time. The silence stretched between them like a wire about to snap. You don't have a choice, Charles said. You stopped having a choice the moment you pulled out your phone and started recording. Jerome arrived at the dojo at 9 p.m., his usual time, his usual route, his usual parking spot in the back corner of the lot. He sat in his car for 5 minutes before turning off the engine. The building looked the same. The sign over the door looked the same. The lights in the windows looked the same. But everything had changed. He knew it the moment he walked through the back entrance. The supply closet key turned in the lock. The door swung open. The smell of bleach and floor wax and old sweat filled his nostrils. Familiar, comforting. The smell of work. The smell of purpose. He hung his jacket on the hook, grabbed the mop bucket, filled it with hot water and cleaning solution. The routine was automatic. The routine was meditation. The routine was the only thing keeping him from falling apart. He pushed the bucket into the main dojo. The mats glowed under the fluorescent lights. Empty. Silent. Waiting. He dipped the mop, wrung it out, started at the far corner, worked his way across the floor in straight lines, back and forth, back and forth. The rhythm of his breathing matched the rhythm of his strokes. In, out, sweep, dip, ring. He had been working for 20 minutes when he heard footsteps. Jerome stopped, didn't turn around, listened. The footsteps were light, measured. The footsteps of someone who had spent decades walking on mats without making noise. You came back. Master Griffin's voice, soft, kind, sad. Jerome kept mopping. I work here. You could quit. I need the money. You could teach. You could charge $200 an hour and be fully booked by the end of the week. Jerome wrung out the mop. I don't want to teach. What do you want? The question hung in the air, heavy, unanswerable. Jerome had not asked himself what he wanted in years. Wanting was dangerous. Wanting led to decisions. Decisions led to consequences. Consequences led to the kind of attention that got people killed. I want to mop, Jerome said. That's all. Master Griffin walked to the center of the mat, sat down cross-legged, the same way he had sat the night before when he watched Jerome dismantle Derek without throwing a single punch. The video has been seen by over 2 million people, Master Griffin said. My nephew has received 37 interview requests. The morning shows, the podcasts, the documentary filmmakers. They all want to tell the story of the janitor who was secretly a master. Jerome's mop stopped moving. I'm not a master. You are. You always were. You just never wanted the title. Jerome leaned on the mop handle, stared at the floor, the clean part and the dirty part, the line between them sharp and clear. He wished his life had such a line. What do I do? Jerome asked. Quiet, almost a whisper. Master Griffin was quiet for a moment. What does your heart tell you? My heart tells me to hide. And your head? My head tells me that hiding is no longer an option. Master Griffin nodded. Then the only question is how you choose to be seen. As a victim, as a hero, as a villain. The story will be told whether you participate or not. The only choice is whether you help write it. Jerome pushed the mop bucket toward the other side of the room. The wheels squeaked on the hardwood. The sound echoed off the walls. Lonely, final. I need to finish my shift. Master Griffin stood up, brushed off his pants, walked toward the front entrance. He stopped at the door and looked back over his shoulder. Jerome! Yes? Your mother would be proud of you. Not because you fought, because you chose not to. That is the hardest fight of all. The door closed behind him. Jerome stood alone in the dojo. The mop dripped onto the clean floor. He didn't notice. He was thinking about his mother. About the way she used to look at him before the disease stole her eyes. The way she used to say, My son is a good man, the best man. A man who protects without hurting. A man who stands without fighting. He wondered if she would still say that if she knew what he had done last night. If she knew that for 11 years he had been running from the person he used to be. If she knew that the person he used to be was still inside him, waiting for an excuse to come out. He finished mopping at 11:47 p.m., 13 minutes early. He hung the mop, emptied the bucket, cleaned the supply closet, locked the back door, walked to his car. His phone was still turned off. He turned it on. 143 text messages, 52 missed calls. He deleted the notifications without reading them, but one voicemail caught his attention. The preview text read, This is Attorney Susan Holloway. I represent Charles Van Camp. This message is regarding a legal matter that requires your immediate attention. Jerome listened to the voicemail 3 times. Mr. Fiser, this is Susan Holloway. I am counsel for Mr. Charles Van Camp and his son Derek Van Camp. It is my understanding that you were involved in a physical altercation with Mr. Derek Van Camp last night at Legacy Martial Arts Academy. My clients are prepared to pursue all available legal remedies unless you agree to meet with us tomorrow morning to discuss a resolution. Please call my office by 9 a.m. to confirm your attendance. If I do not hear from you, we will proceed with filing a complaint. Jerome sat in his car. The engine was off, the windows were fogged, the parking lot was empty, the world outside was dark and quiet. Inside his chest, something stirred, something he had been trying to bury for 11 years, something that had once kept him alive in places where death waited around every corner. Not anger, not fear, something colder, something sharper. Clarity. He called the number. A woman answered on the first ring. Susan Holloway's office. This is Jerome Fiser. I got a message about a meeting tomorrow. Yes, Mr. Fiser, 9 a.m. at our office. Do you know the address? I'll find it. Mr. Fiser, before you hang up, I should tell you that Mr. Van Camp is prepared to be generous if you agree to his terms. This doesn't have to be adversarial. Jerome was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that surprised even himself. Tell Mr. Van Camp that I'll be there, and tell him to bring his son. He hung up, started the car, drove home. The next morning, Jerome wore his best clothes. That wasn't saying much. Gray slacks from Target, a white button-down shirt that had been ironed 3 times too many, black shoes that he had polished with a rag and spit. He looked like what he was. A working man trying to look respectable in a room full of people who had never worked a day in their lives. The law office was in a high-rise on Peachtree Street. Floor 14, glass walls, abstract art, a receptionist with perfect teeth and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Mr. Fiser, Ms. Holloway will see you now. She led him down a hallway lined with framed diplomas and awards. The carpet was thick, the kind of carpet that swallowed sound, the kind of carpet that made you feel like you were walking through a dream. The conference room was at the end of the hall. A long table made of dark wood, leather chairs, a pitcher of water, crystal glasses, a view of the city that stretched for miles. Charles Van Camp sat at the head of the table. Derek sat to his right. Susan Holloway sat to his left. She was in her 50s, blonde, sharp, the kind of lawyer who charged by the minute and never forgot a single one. Jerome stood in the doorway. Nobody stood up. Nobody offered to shake his hand. Nobody said hello. Close the door, please, Susan said. Jerome closed the door, walked to the far end of the table, sat down. The chair was too soft. He felt like he was sinking. Charles Van Camp looked at him the way you look at a stain on an expensive rug, with annoyance, with contempt, with the certainty that the stain would eventually be removed. Thank you for coming, Mr. Fiser, Susan said. We appreciate your willingness to resolve this matter without litigation. Jerome said nothing. Susan opened a folder, removed several pages, slid them across the table. This is a draft of a settlement agreement. In exchange for your signature, Mr. Van Camp is prepared to pay you $10,000 and provide a letter of reference for future employment. Jerome looked at the papers, didn't touch them. In exchange for what? In exchange for your agreement not to pursue any legal claims against Derek or Mr. Van Camp. In exchange for your agreement to delete any video or photographic evidence of the incident. In exchange for your agreement to sign a non-disclosure agreement regarding the events of October 24th. Jerome looked at Derek. Derek looked at the table. And if I don't sign? Susan's smile tightened. Then we will file a complaint with the Atlanta Police Department alleging that you assaulted Derek. We will also file a civil suit for battery and emotional distress. We will seek a restraining order that will prevent you from working at Legacy or any other martial arts facility in the state. And we will pursue maximum damages. Jerome nodded. How much are maximum damages? Charles spoke for the first time. His voice was low, controlled, the voice of a man who was used to getting what he wanted. Enough to take everything you have. Your car, your apartment, your mother's savings, everything. Jerome's jaw tightened, but his voice remained calm. My mother doesn't have savings. Then everything you have, Charles said, which from what I understand is not much. The room was very quiet. Jerome could hear his own heartbeat. Steady, slow, the heartbeat of a man who had been in worse rooms than this. The heartbeat of a man who had been outnumbered and outgunned and had walked out anyway. You're trying to scare me, Jerome said. I'm trying to be reasonable, Chede, Charles said. You embarrassed my son. Fine. You proved a point. Fine. Now take the money and disappear. Go back to mopping floors. Go back to being invisible. That's what you want, isn't it? Jerome looked at Derek, really looked at him. Saw the fear behind the expensive suit, saw the shame behind the polished shoes, saw the son who had spent his whole life trying to earn his father's approval and had finally realized it would never come. Derek, Jerome said, Look at me. Derek looked up. His eyes were red. He hadn't slept either. Do you want to do this? Derek opened his mouth, closed it, looked at his father. Don't answer that, Charles said. I'm not asking you, Jerome said. His voice was still calm, but there was something underneath now, something that made Charles lean back in his chair. I'm asking your son, the man who challenged me to a fight, the man who grabbed my shoulder, the man who called me a coward in front of his friends. I'm asking him if he wants to destroy my life because he lost a sparring match. Derek's lip trembled. Derek. Charles's voice was a whip crack. Derek looked down. I'm sorry. Sorry for what? Jerome asked. Sorry for grabbing you. Sorry for filming you. Sorry for... That's enough, Charles said. He stood up, towered over the table. This meeting is over. Either sign the agreement or we'll see you in court. Jerome stood up too, slowly, deliberately. He was not as tall as Charles, not as rich, not as powerful, but something in the way he stood made Susan Holloway reach for her phone, made Derek push his chair back, made Charles take a half-step backward. You want to know what I think? Jerome said. Quiet, steady. I think you're scared, not of me, of what I represent. You built your whole life on the idea that money equals power, that status equals safety, that being rich means you don't have to follow the same rules as everyone else. Jerome walked toward the door, stopped with his hand on the handle. But last night, your son learned something that money can't buy. He learned that there are some fights you can't win, some people you can't intimidate, some truths you can't litigate away. He opened the door, turned back one last time. I'm not signing anything. If you want to sue me, sue me. If you want to call the police, call them. But know this. Every time you try to destroy me, I will tell the truth. And the truth is that your son grabbed me. Your son threatened me. Your son challenged me to a fight after I said no 12 times. Jerome looked at Derek. And your son lost, fair and square, in front of witnesses on video. He lost because he was arrogant. He lost because he was cruel. He lost because he thought being strong meant being loud. Jerome stepped into the hallway. You can't sue your way out of that. The door closed behind him. Charles stood frozen for a long moment. Then he turned to Susan. File the complaint. Today. Susan hesitated. Charles, his version of events is irrelevant. We file first. We control the narrative. That's how this works. Derek stood up. His chair scraped against the floor. Dad, stop. He's right. I started it. I grabbed him. Sit down. No. Derek's voice cracked. No, I won't sit down. For once in my life, I won't do what you tell me to do. Charles stared at his son. The shock on his face was almost comical. Almost. I was wrong, Derek said. I was wrong to challenge him. I was wrong to grab him. I was wrong to film him. And I'm not going to let you destroy his life because I couldn't handle losing. Charles walked toward Derek, slowly, dangerously. You will do as I say. Or what? You'll cut me off? You'll take away the car, the apartment, the trust fund? Derek laughed, but there was no joy in it. Go ahead. I don't care anymore. I spent my whole life trying to be what you wanted, and it's never been enough. It will never be enough. Derek walked to the door, looked back at his father. I'm going to find him. I'm going to apologize. For real. And if you try to stop me, I'll tell the truth too. I'll tell everyone who will listen what really happened. He left. The door swung shut behind him. Charles stood alone in the conference room. Susan Holloway sat very still. She had worked for Charles for 7 years. She had never seen anyone speak to him that way and lived to tell about it. Ms. Holloway, Charles said. His voice was flat, empty. File the complaint against both of them. Susan blinked. Both of them? My son has chosen his side. Now he can live with the consequences. That afternoon, Jerome sat in his mother's room at the Golden Meadows Care Facility. The facility was 20 minutes from his apartment. It cost $4,700 a month. He paid $2,300. Medicaid paid the rest. Every month he wrote a check that left him with $300 for food, gas, and everything else. His mother was awake today. That didn't always happen. Sometimes she slept for 16 hours straight. Sometimes she woke up confused, frightened, unsure of where she was or who the strange man in her room was. But today she was Marie. The Marie who had taught kindergarten. The Marie who had driven him to judo practice. The Marie who had held his face in her hands after his first fight and said, "You are not what they call you. You are what you do." She was sitting in a recliner by the window. Her hair was brushed. Her nails were painted pink. One of the aides, a young woman named Destiny, who Jerome tipped $50 every Christmas, had done her hair and makeup that morning. "Jerome!" his mother said. Her voice was thin, fragile, but her eyes were clear. You came. I always come, Mama. I know, sometimes I forget, but I remember now. You're my son. Jerome sat on the ottoman at her feet, held her hand. Her skin was papery, translucent. He could see the veins underneath, the blue highways of a life nearly spent. Something happened last night, he said. His mother tilted her head. Good something or bad something? I don't know yet. Tell me. So, he told her. Not everything. He left out the violence, the fear, the way Derek's body had hit the mat, but he told her about the challenge, about the video, about the lawyer, about Charles Van Camp and the settlement and the threat. His mother listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a long time. You always had a temper, she said finally. Even as a little boy, you would get so angry, so hot, like a fire inside you. Jerome nodded. Your father taught you judo because he wanted you to learn control, not because he wanted you to win fights, because he wanted you to learn that the strongest person in the room is the one who doesn't need to prove anything. I know, Mama. Do you? She squeezed his hand. Her grip was stronger than it looked. Because it sounds like you're still trying to prove something. Still trying to show them that you are not what they think, still trying to make them see. Jerome looked at their hands, his dark, hers pale, his strong, hers fragile. The contrast broke something inside him. What should I do? His mother smiled. It was the smile he remembered from childhood. The smile that said everything was going to be okay. The smile that had lied to him 1,000 times and he had believed it every single time. The same thing you always do, she said. Keep showing up. Keep being kind. Keep choosing peace even when violence would be easier. And trust that the truth has a way of coming out. She reached up, touched his face. My son, the best man. Jerome leaned into her hand, closed his eyes, felt the years fall away, felt himself become a boy again, a boy who believed his mother could fix anything. I love you, Mama. I love you too, baby. Now go. You have work to do. He kissed her forehead, walked to the door, looked back. She was already closing her eyes, drifting back to wherever her mind went when it left her body behind. Jerome drove to the dojo. It was 7 p.m., 2 hours before his shift started. But he needed to be there. Needed to feel the mats under his feet, needed to remember who he was before the video, before the lawyers, before the Van Camps. The front door was locked. He used his key. The alarm beeped. He punched in the code. The lights flickered on. The dojo was empty, silent, waiting. He walked to the center of the mat, took off his shoes, his socks, felt the vinyl under his bare feet. The sensation was familiar, comforting. The sensation of home. He closed his eyes, breathed, in through his nose, out through his mouth, the way his father had taught him, the way he had taught 100 soldiers in 100 different places. And then he started to move, not fighting, not sparring, moving. The katas he had learned as a child, the forms he had practiced until his muscles remembered them better than his mind. Slow, fluid, graceful. His arms cut through the air, his feet pivoted on the mat, his hips rotated, his shoulders dropped. The movements were ancient, hundreds of years old. Passed down from master to student, from father to son. He had not performed these forms in 11 years, but his body remembered. His body had never forgotten. He moved across the mat like water flowing downhill, like smoke rising from a fire, like something that had been waiting in the dark for a very long time. He didn't hear the door open, didn't hear the footsteps, didn't know anyone was watching until a voice spoke from the edge of the mat. That's beautiful. Jerome stopped, opened his eyes. Derek stood by the wall. His suit jacket was gone, his tie was loosened, his face was pale. He looked like a man who had been crying and had not yet decided whether to admit it. I'm sorry, Derek said. I didn't mean to interrupt. The front door was open. Jerome lowered his hands, stood still, waited. I came to apologize, Derek said. For real this time. Not because my dad told me to, not because I'm scared of getting sued. He walked onto the mat, stopped 10 feet away. I was wrong. Everything you said in that conference room was right. I grabbed you, I threatened you, I filmed you without your permission, and I challenged you to a fight after you said no. Derek's voice cracked. I've been a bully my whole life. I just didn't know it. Or maybe I did know it and I didn't care. 'Cause being a bully felt good. Felt powerful, made me feel like I was better than everyone else. He looked at the floor, the mat where he had fallen, where Jerome had thrown him without throwing a single punch. "You didn't just beat me. You showed me who I really am, and I didn't like what I saw." Jerome was quiet for a long time. Then he walked to the wall, sat down, leaned against the mirrors, motioned for Derek to sit across from him. Derek sat. "Tell me about your father," Jerome said. Derek blinked. "What?" "Tell me about Charles. What's he like when you're alone, when there's no one watching, when it's just the two of you?" Derek stared at the floor. His shoulders started shaking, not from cold, from something deeper, something he had been hiding for 26 years. "He's never told me he loves me," Derek said. "Not once. Not on my birthday, not when I got my black belt, not when I got into Emory, not ever." The words hung in the air. Heavy, sad, human. "I've spent my whole life trying to earn his approval. Winning tournaments, getting good grades, dating the right girls, driving the right car. None of it matters. Nothing is ever enough." Derek looked up. His eyes were wet. "I challenged you because I wanted to feel powerful, because I wanted to feel like I was in control of something, because for 1 second I wanted to be the one who decided who won and who lost." Jerome nodded. "Did it work?" Derek laughed. A broken, hollow sound. "No, it just made me feel smaller." They sat in silence for a while. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. The building settled. Somewhere outside a car drove past. Normal sounds, normal night. "What happens now?" Derek asked. "I don't know," Jerome said. "Your father is filing a complaint. He's going to try to destroy me. And he might succeed." "I won't let him. You can't stop him. He's your father. He has money. He has power. He has lawyers. I have a mop and a Honda with a broken taillight." Derek shook his head. "I'll testify. I'll tell the truth. I'll tell them that I started it, that you didn't do anything wrong." "And when your father cuts you off, takes your car, your apartment, your tuition?" Derek was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that surprised both of them. "Then I'll get a job. I'll figure it out. I'm 26 years old. It's time I started acting like it." Jerome studied Derek's face, looking for the lie, looking for the trap, looking for the moment when the rich kid would remember that he was rich and change his mind. But Derek's face was open, vulnerable, afraid. "I don't trust you," Jerome said. "Not yet. Trust is earned. And you haven't earned anything from me except a chance to prove you're not the person you showed me you were." Derek nodded. "That's fair. But I'll give you that chance. One chance. Because everyone deserves one chance to become someone different." Jerome stood up, walked to the supply closet, grabbed the mop, the bucket, the cleaning solution. He filled the bucket with hot water, pushed it onto the mat. "You want to apologize?" Jerome said. "Help me clean." Derek stared at the mop, at the bucket, at Jerome's face. "You're serious." "I'm always serious." Derek stood up, walked to the supply closet, grabbed a second mop, a second bucket, filled it with water, pushed it onto the mat. For the next 2 hours they mopped in silence. Side by side, the janitor and the heir, the master and the student, the victim and the bully. It was not forgiveness, not yet, but it was a beginning. And sometimes a beginning is enough. The complaint was filed at 4:47 p.m. the next day. Charles Van Camp did not wait, did not hesitate, did not give his son a chance to change his mind. He filed a criminal complaint with the Atlanta Police Department alleging that Jerome Fiser had assaulted Derek Van Camp. He filed a civil lawsuit seeking $250,000 in damages for battery, emotional distress, and lost wages. He filed a restraining order that would prevent Jerome from coming within 500 feet of Legacy Martial Arts Academy. The local news picked up the story within the hour. The headline read, "Special Forces veteran charged with assaulting college student at Buckhead Dojo." No mention of Derek grabbing Jerome's shoulder. No mention of the challenge. No mention of the video that showed Derek throwing the first punch. The narrative had been set. Jerome found out when he arrived at the dojo for his shift. The front door was locked. His key didn't work. A piece of paper was taped to the glass. It read, "Jerome Fiser is no longer permitted on these premises. Any questions should be directed to our legal department." Jerome stood in the parking lot. The mop bucket was in his trunk. The cleaning supplies were in his back seat. The routine was broken. The meditation was over. The life he had built for 11 years had crumbled in 48 hours. His phone rang. Master Griffin. "I heard," Master Griffin said. "I'm sorry." "It's not your fault." "My nephew had no choice. The Van Camp lawyers threatened to sue the academy if we didn't terminate your employment. They said you were a liability, a danger to students." Jerome leaned against his car. The hood was warm. The sun was setting. The sky was orange and pink and purple. Beautiful, cruel. I understand, Jerome said. What will you do? Jerome watched a family walk into the dojo. A father. A mother. Two little boys in karate uniforms. The boys were laughing, pushing each other, happy, normal, the way children should be. I don't know, Jerome said. For the first time in a long time, I don't know. He hung up, got in his car, sat in the driver's seat for a long time. The parking lot emptied. The lights in the dojo went out. The stars came out, one by one, tiny pinpricks of light in an ocean of darkness. Jerome thought about his father, about the way he had looked in his uniform, about the way he had held Jerome's hand on the last day and said, "Be good, be kind, be strong enough to be gentle." He thought about his mother, about the way she had worked 2 jobs to pay for his judo lessons, about the way she had never missed a tournament, about the way she had cheered for him even when he lost. He thought about the soldiers he had trained, the ones who had come home, the ones who hadn't, the ones who had looked at him with trust in their eyes and asked him to teach them how to survive. He thought about Derek, about the fear behind the arrogance, about the father who had never said "I love you," about the son who had spent 26 years trying to earn a love that would never come. And he thought about himself, about the person he used to be, about the person he had become, about the person he still had time to become. He started the engine, drove home. The city lights blurred past. The streets were familiar. The turns were automatic. His body knew the way even when his mind was somewhere else. When he got to his apartment, there was a car parked outside, a BMW X7, silver, expensive, familiar. Derek got out of the driver's seat. He was wearing jeans and a hoodie. No suit, no tie, no armor. "I heard," Derek said, "about the complaint, the lawsuit, the restraining order." Jerome got out of his car, closed the door. "Your father moves fast." "He always does." Derek walked toward Jerome, stopped 10 feet away. "I talked to him, told him I would testify, told him I would tell the truth. He said if I did, he would cut me off completely. No money, no car, no apartment, no tuition, no health insurance, nothing." "And what did you say?" Derek took a breath, let it out. "I said okay." The word hung in the air, small, ordinary, but underneath it was something huge, something that looked like courage. "I'm not the person I was 3 days ago," Derek said. "I don't know who I am yet, but I know who I don't want to be. I don't want to be my father. I don't want to be a bully. I don't want to spend my whole life trying to prove something that doesn't matter." He took another step closer. "I want to help you. I don't know how, but I want to try." Jerome looked at Derek for a long time, searching for the lie, searching for the trap, searching for the moment when the rich kid would remember that he was rich and change his mind. But Derek's face was open, vulnerable and afraid, just like it had been on the mat. "Come inside," Jerome said. "We have work to do." They sat at Jerome's kitchen table. The table was small, formica, chipped. The chairs were mismatched. The room smelled like coffee and bleach, Jerome's world. Derek looked around, at the second-hand furniture, at the altar with the photograph and the candle. At the closed door of his mother's room, his face was unreadable. "This is where you live," Derek said. "Not a question. This is where I live." "How do you afford the care facility, the one your mother is in?" Jerome poured 2 cups of coffee. The mug he gave Derek said, "World's okayest dad." It was the only clean one. "I work, I save, I cut corners, I don't buy things I don't need." Derek looked at his own hands, the hands that had never known a day of real work, the hands that had always been soft and clean and safe. "My father spends more on his country club membership than you make in a year." Jerome sat down across from him. "I know. That's not fair. Fair doesn't matter. What matters is what we do next." Jerome pulled out a notebook and then a pen, wrote at the top, "It's a strategy. Your father is trying to destroy me. He filed a criminal complaint. He filed a civil lawsuit. He got me fired. He's trying to make me look like a violent criminal who attacked an innocent college student." Derek nodded. "We need to change the narrative. We need to show people what really happened. The video, the witnesses, the fact that you grabbed me first, the fact that you challenged me 12 times, the fact that I said no." Jerome looked at Derek. "But we can't do that without you, without your testimony, without you telling the truth, in public, on the record, in front of cameras." And Derek's face paled. "You want me to go on television?" "I want you to tell the truth, wherever that happens. Courtroom, news studio, press conference, doesn't matter to me. What matters is that people hear it from you." Derek stared at the coffee mug. The words, "world's okayest dad," blurred in front of his eyes. "If I do that, my father will—" "I know what your father will do, but you already told me you were willing to lose everything." "Was that true, or was that just something you said to make yourself feel better?" Derek's jaw tightened. "It was true." "Then prove it." The room was very quiet. The refrigerator hummed. Somewhere in the building someone was playing music. Old school R&B, the kind of music Jerome's mother used to dance to. Derek picked up the pen, wrote his name at the bottom of the page. Underneath it he wrote, "I will tell the truth." Then he looked at Jerome. "What do we do first?" Jerome smiled. It was the first time Derek had seen him smile. It was not a happy smile. It was a smile of recognition. The smile of a man who has found an ally he didn't know he needed. "First we call a lawyer, not your father's lawyer, our lawyer. Someone who believes in justice more than billable hours." "Do you know anyone like that?" Jerome pulled out his phone, scrolled through his contacts, stopped on a name he hadn't called in 11 years. "I know someone," he said. "Someone who owes me a favor." The phone rang 3 times, then a voice answered. Female, professional, tired. "This is attorney Maya Okonkwo. It's 9 p.m. This better be an emergency." "Maya, it's Jerome Fiser." Silence, then, "Jerome, my God, I haven't heard your voice, and how long has it been?" 11 years, since Fort Bragg, since you defended those soldiers against the hazing charges." Maya was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. "You saved my career. You testified for my clients when no one else would. You told the truth even though it meant testifying against your commanding officer. I did what was right. You did what was brave." A pause. "What do you need?" Jerome looked at Derek, at the rich kid who had lost everything to do the right thing, at the bully who was trying to become something else. "I need you to defend me against a rich man who's trying to destroy me, and I need you to do it for free." Another pause, longer this time. "Tell me everything." So Jerome told her, the whole story, the dojo, the challenge, the video, the lawsuit, the father, the son who had decided to tell the truth. When he finished, Maya was silent for a long time. "This is going to be ugly," she said finally. "Charles Van Camp has more money than God. He's going to throw everything at us. Private investigators, expert witnesses, media consultants, and he's going to try to bury us in paperwork and billable hours." "I know. And you want me to do this for free, Latino. I want you to do this because it's right." Maya laughed, a short, sharp sound. "You always were good at that, making people do the right thing." "Will you help us?" "I'll file a motion to dismiss the criminal complaint tomorrow morning. I'll file an answer to the civil lawsuit by the end of the week, and I'll start preparing your defense." She paused. "But Jerome, if we lose this, you could go to jail. You could lose everything. You could lose your mother." Jerome looked at the closed door, at the room where his mother slept, at the woman who had given him everything and asked for nothing in return. "I already lost everything," Jerome said. "Now I'm just fighting to get it back." He hung up, looked at Derek. "We have a lawyer." Derek let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. "What now?" "Now we wait, and we prepare, and we hope that the truth is still enough to matter." They sat at the kitchen table until midnight, talking, planning, drinking coffee that got cold and then got reheated and then got cold again. 2 men from different worlds, different backgrounds, different lives, but in that moment they were the same. Both of them were trying to become someone their fathers would be proud of. Both of them were afraid. Both of them were choosing the hard road instead of the easy one. And sometimes that's all victory is. Choosing the hard road, over and over, until the hard road becomes the only road you know. The next morning, Jerome woke up to his phone buzzing. Not 1 notification, not 2, dozens, hundreds. The screen was a wall of text messages, emails, social media alerts, and voicemails. He picked up the phone, opened Facebook. The video had been viewed 17 million times. 17 million. His heart stopped. Started again. He scrolled through the comments. They were coming in so fast he couldn't read them. A blur of words and emojis and anger and support and confusion and hope. But one comment stopped him cold. It was from a woman named Patricia Van Camp, Derek's mother. "My son told me what happened. He told me the truth, and I believe him. Charles Van Camp does not speak for our family. He does not speak for me, and he does not speak for Derek. The truth will come out. It always does." Jerome read the comment 3 times, then he called Derek. "Did you see what your mother posted?" A pause, then Derek's voice, hoarse, like he had been crying. Yeah, I saw. Does your father know? He knows. He's furious. He says she's going to ruin everything. He says she's betraying the family. What do you say? Derek was quiet for a moment. I say she's the bravest person I know. Jerome looked out the window. The sun was rising over Atlanta, gold and orange and red. The city was waking up. People were drinking coffee, driving to work, living their lives. They had no idea that a war was being fought. A war not with fists or feet or weapons. A war with words and truth and the courage to stand up when standing up cost everything. We're going to win, Jerome said. Not because he believed it, because he needed to say it. How do you know? Because we have something your father doesn't have. What's that? Jerome smiled. The truth. He hung up, walked to his mother's room, opened the door. She was awake, sitting up in bed, looking out the window at the same sunrise. Mama, he said, we need to talk. She turned, looked at him. For a moment her eyes were clear, sharp, the eyes of the woman who had raised him, the woman who had taught him what it meant to be good. I know, she said. I've been waiting. Jerome sat on the edge of her bed, took her hand, told her everything. The lawsuit, the lawyer, Derek, the video, the 17 million views, the comment from Patricia Van Camp. His mother listened, the way she always had. Without interrupting, without judging, just listening, being present, being there. When he finished, she squeezed his hand. You're doing the right thing, she said. I don't know if it's right. I just know it's the only thing I can do. She shook her head. No, you could run, you could hide, you could sign to that paper and take the money and disappear. That's always an option. Jerome looked at their hands. His dark, hers pale, his strong, hers fragile. Why aren't I running? His mother smiled. The smile that had carried him through every hard moment of his life. The smile that had never lied to him. Not once. Not ever. Because I didn't raise a runner, she said. I raised a fighter. Not the kind who throws punches. The kind who stands still when the world wants him to move. The kind who tells the truth when lies are easier. The kind who chooses peace but refuses to be broken by violence. She reached up, touched his face. You are that kind, Jerome. You have always been that kind, and no lawsuit, no rich man, no viral video can change that. Jerome leaned into her hand, closed his eyes, felt the tears come, not from sadness, from relief, from the release of a weight he had been carrying for 11 years. I love you, Mama. I love you too, baby. Now go. You have a war to win. The press conference was scheduled for 3 p.m. on Friday. Maya Okonkwo had arranged it. A small room at the Buckhead Public Library. Chairs for 50 reporters, space for cameras, a podium with a microphone. Jerome had never spoken to the press before. Not once. Not in the army. Not in his civilian life. He had always preferred the shadows, the quiet, the anonymity. But the shadows had been taken from him. The quiet had been shattered. The anonymity had been stripped away by 17 million views and a lawsuit and a rich man who wanted to destroy him. So now he would speak. Derek stood beside him in the small office behind the library's meeting room. He was wearing a suit again, but it was not his expensive suit. It was a suit he had bought that morning at a department store. $300. The cheapest one he could find that still fit. I'm scared, Derek said. Me too, Jerome said. You don't look scared. That's the training. Maya walked into the room. She was tall, broad-shouldered, dark skin, short hair, the kind of woman who commanded attention without asking for it. She had been a military lawyer, then a public defender. Now she ran a small practice that represented people who couldn't afford anyone else. The room is full, she said. Local news, national news, some international outlets. The Van Camp family has connections, and those connections called in favors. Everyone wants to see how this ends. Jerome nodded. You don't have to do this, Maya said. We can fight this in court. We don't need the court of public opinion. Yes, we do, Jerome said. Because in court, money talks. And Charles Van Camp has more money than God. But in the court of public opinion, the truth still matters. Sometimes. Maybe. I have to believe it does. Maya looked at him for a long time, then she nodded. Okay, let's go. She led them to the meeting room. The door opened. The flash of cameras hit Jerome's eyes like a physical force. He blinked, kept walking, reached the podium. Derek stood to his left, Maya stood to his right. The room was full. Standing room only, reporters with notebooks, cameras with red lights, microphones on long poles reaching toward him like hungry birds. Jerome looked at the sea of faces. Strangers, all of them. But they were not enemies, not yet. They were just people. People who wanted a story, people who wanted to understand. He leaned into the microphone. "My name is Jerome Fiser," he said. His voice was steady, calm, the voice of a man who had spoken to soldiers in combat, who had held dying men in his arms, who had seen the worst of humanity and somehow still believed in the best. "I am a janitor, I am a veteran, I am a son, and I am being sued by a man who has never met me." He paused. Let the words settle. "Charles Van Camp says I assaulted his son. He says I am a violent criminal who attacked an innocent college student. He says I should go to jail. He says I should pay $250,000. Jerome looked at Derek. Derek nodded. "But that is not what happened, and Derek Van Camp is here to tell you the truth." Jerome stepped back from the podium. Derek stepped forward. His hands were shaking. His face was pale. He looked like a man about to walk into a fire. He leaned into the microphone. "My name is Derek Van Camp. Charles Van Camp is my father, and everything my father has said about Jerome Fiser's is a lie." The room erupted. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Derek held up his hand, waited for silence. "I started it," Derek said. "I grabbed Jerome's shoulder. I challenged him to a fight. I called him a coward. I filmed him without his permission, and when he finally agreed to spar with me, he did not throw a single punch." Derek's voice cracked, but he kept going. "He redirected my momentum. He caught my punch. He did not hurt me. He did not bruise me. He did not even raise his voice. He simply showed me that I was not as strong as I thought I was." Derek looked at the cameras, at the reporters, at the world that was watching. "My father filed a criminal complaint. He filed a civil lawsuit. He got Jerome fired from his job. He tried to destroy a man's life because that man beat me in a fair fight." Derek took a breath, let it out. "I am ashamed of what I did. I am ashamed of who I was, but I am not ashamed to stand here and tell the truth. Jerome Fiser that is not a violent criminal. He is a good man, a citoyen man, a man who spends his nights mopping floors so he can afford to take care of his mother, who has dementia." Derek's voice broke completely. Tears streamed down his face. He did not wipe them away. "I am sorry, Jerome. I am so sorry, and I will spend the rest of my life trying to make this right." He stepped back from the podium. The room was silent. No one spoke. No one moved. The cameras kept recording. The red lights kept glowing. Jerome stepped forward again. He looked at Derek, at the tears, at the fear, at the courage. Then he did something no one expected. He hugged him. The cameras captured everything. The janitor in the air, the victim and the bully, two men who had been enemies 3 days ago, standing together, holding each other, crying together. It was the most human thing in the world, and the world was watching. The press conference ended 20 minutes later. Jerome answered questions. Derek answered questions. Maya answered questions. The reporters filed out. The cameras turned off. The room emptied. Jerome sat down in one of the folding chairs. His legs were shaking. His hands were shaking. His whole body was trembling with the release of adrenaline. Derek sat next to him. His face was blotchy. His eyes were red. He looked exhausted, relieved, terrified. "I did it," Derek said. "You did it. My father is going to kill me." "Your father is going to try." Jerome put a hand on Derek's shoulder. "But you're not alone anymore. You have me, you have Maya, you have your mother." Derek nodded, wiped his eyes. "What happens now?" Jerome looked out the window. The sun was setting. The sky was orange and pink and purple, beautiful, cruel. "Now we wait," Jerome said, "and we see if the truth is enough." It was. The next morning, Charles Van Camp dropped the criminal complaint. The morning after that, he dropped the civil lawsuit. The morning after that, he issued a public statement that said, "After reviewing the facts, I have determined that my son's version of events is accurate. I regret any harm this situation has caused Mr. Fiser, and I wish him well." It was a lie. Everyone knew it was a lie. But it was a lie that allowed everyone to move on. The dojo offered Jerome his job back. He declined. Instead, he accepted an offer from Master Griffin to teach a weekly class. Free for veterans, free for their families, a place where broken people could learn to be whole again. Derek enrolled in a different dojo, a smaller one, a humbler one. He started at white belt, a beginner, a student, a man who had finally learned that the first step to becoming strong is admitting you are weak. And Jerome? Jerome kept cleaning floors, not at the dojo, at the care facility where his mother lived. He mopped the hallways, he cleaned the rooms, he emptied the trash. He did it because it needed to be done. And because every night after his shift he could walk into his mother's room and hold her hand and tell her about his day. She didn't always understand. The dementia took more from her every month. But sometimes on good days she would look at him with clear eyes and say, "My son, the best man." And that was enough. That was always enough. The story spread, not because of the lawsuit, not because of the press conference, because of a video of a janitor hugging a young man who had tried to destroy him, a video of forgiveness in action, a video of two people choosing humanity over hatred. It was viewed 100 million times. People wrote articles, people made documentaries, people nominated Jerome for awards. He declined them all. "I'm not a hero," he said. "I'm just a man who mopped floors and took care of his mother. That's all I ever wanted to be." But the world disagreed, because the world needs heroes. Not the kind who wear capes, not the kind who throw punches, the kind who stand still when the world wants them to move, the kind who tell the truth when lies are easier, the kind who choose peace but refuse to be broken by violence. Jerome Fiser was that kind. And the world saw him, not as a janitor, not as a soldier, not as a master, as a man who had been invisible for 11 years, and finally was seen.